Welcome back. All right, so we're going to do a news of the day video now. A little bit earlier than I've been doing them, but there's some news to pass on. So we've got the World Juniors going on. The one quarterfinal game has been finished. I will be talking about that one, so there will be spoiler warning before I talk about it, and there's actual timestamps. So with the board not being in the background, that means I'm including the timestamps, and it means you get to see that we have bear, we have maple on the tree as well. So kind of fun right there. I had Shadow at my feet. He's gone off somewhere else. All right. That being said, let's go ahead and jump in with a signing that took place today. Jack Johnson is now a member of the Chicago Blackhawks. I don't know for how long. It's a one-year deal for $950,000. The interesting thing with Jack Johnson is there's been times where he's been overpaid, and I think people have rightfully criticized some of the handling of his career and contracts and whatnot. But at $950,000 for Chicago, there's no risk, and it means that at the trade deadline, in all likelihood, Chicago are going to be sellers. Spoiler alert and all that. But for Chicago, this really is a matter of bringing in a guy who's a depth defenseman, had some success this past year, and then at the deadline, you can probably get a draft pick for him or a prospect. So Johnson goes to another team. Much like other players who've signed in Chicago, I really think this is just players saying, all right, well, I'll get an opportunity to play there and then maybe get moved at the deadline. So we'll see with Jack Johnson how he does. I do think that as a depth defenseman and on a contract worth only $950,000, there is absolutely zero risk for this contract to blow up in the faces of the Chicago Blackhawks because it's only 1 year and it's a cheap deal. So not too shabby. All right, Cedric Paquette, who has had a hard time reaching NHL level the last couple of years, has now signed with Minsk of the KHL, so Dynamo Minsk, picking up Cedric Paquette. Good checking forward, good fourth liner in the NHL in his peak. Believe he had some third line time there as well. It definitely looks like the NHL portion of his career probably over, and so he goes over and signs in the KHL, and we'll see how things go for him. There are times that guys will come back from the KHL and play in the NHL again. Maybe Paquette ends up in that category. I don't think so. I get the feeling that this is, a sign that he's winding down. But again, we have seen careers get resurrected before, so we'll see if it happens again. Also, in the news categories, Rasmus Sandin. So this is a fascinating one to me because Toronto fans are rightfully pointing out, well, he hasn't had a regular spot in the lineup yet. And they're right. Sandin has not made those tremendous strides that would have been expected, being drafted as highly as he was. But the argument that can also be made, and these are both equally valid, I think, is that Toronto hasn't shown a lot of faith in Sandin when they've had injuries on the blue line, when they've needed to shore things up. They look externally or they look to other defensemen. I do think that for Sandin, I think there's a little bit of both, that he might have been able to play more games than he did, and yet has he earned those games? I understand, for fans who say, well, he hasn't earned it. I understand where they're coming from. It's a tough situation. Sandin's agent coming out and saying that negotiations are going nowhere, that it's just not happening. So clearly Sandin's camp and the Maple Leafs are on opposite sides of this. The Leafs likely saying, look, you got to prove yourself, and his agent saying, look, I got a very talented player. This is what we believe we're worth. So either you end up with a situation that he holds out going into the season, or you end up in a situation where the Leafs, if they decide, you know what, this just isn't worth the hassle, maybe you explore trade options with Rasmus Sandin. Again, I think that there have been times he hasn't taken the opportunities presented to him, but I also think there are other times where those opportunities could have been presented with a little more belief behind him than they necessarily have been. So we'll see how things go. With Toronto, it's always conversation worthy with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And so we'll see how things go with Sandin, how much money he's worth and for how long. I just find it surprising because you would think, like maybe 1.1 million, 2 years, or 1.2. I can't see it being much higher than that, but we shall see where that contract negotiation goes and how things look for Toronto at the end of all of it, right? All right. You guys can let me know, too, in the comment section below how much you think Sandin's worth for how long and whether or not you'd be concerned as a Toronto fan with the idea of Sandin not necessarily playing right out of training camp with Toronto. How much does that continue with the depth, or do you look at their depth on the blue line and say, you know what, we're fine? Let me know your thoughts. All right, Maverick Lamoureaux has signed his entry-level deal with the Arizona Coyotes, so another first-rounder signing. It'll be interesting to see how Lamoureaux's career goes, because he was seen as a player that was kind of a reach at the position that he was drafted, but again, sometimes those players that a team might draft that raise eyebrows turn out to be very good. Sometimes the raised eyebrows are justified years later, but it's always fun to speculate with prospects and all that. It is that time of year to speculate, so we'll see how things go for Lamoureaux. But signing his entry-level contract, good on him, and it's nice to see that general managers are actually signing guys today. There's stuff going on. Maybe they're done with their trip to Bermuda, Bahamas, and all that. Maybe they're all... I just picture them all like some kind of a resort. All the GMs all playing together in the pool. You know, you got water in my eyes. I'm not trading anybody to you anymore. You know, just a fun little... Except Lou. Lou Lamoriello would be off on his own, just staring down at them and shaking his head and saying this is not how we behave, and then telling people to shave their facial hair. All right, that being said, moving on from that, which took a surprising amount of time, Finland. So, again, this is a spoiler. It's a minor spoiler. Really, honestly, Finland beating Germany is not a huge surprise. 5-2 is the final score in that one, and their power play. Finland's power play is going to give teams fits. What we're looking at right now is very likely USA, Canada, Sweden, Finland all getting through today. I will be watching other games today, so we'll see whether or not that happens. But and as in other games, as in I only watched the third period of Finland Germany, and saw the highlights from the other two. And you know, Germany put up as much of a fight as they can, and I like Bugle, the goaltender. I think he's good for Germany, but yeah, Finland's just lethal on the power play. And so we'll see how things go for them as we get into the semifinals. And we'll see whether or not they're able to advance to the gold medal game or how things go there. But if it's Finland, Sweden, Canada, US, I think those are going to be some pretty entertaining hockey games right there that we're going to see the rest of the way in this tournament. All right, next up, Mark Recchi chose violence today. Devils Twitter kind of up in a tweet storm, because Recchi's come out and said that Zacha was traded to Boston in exchange for Haula, and he's saying Zacha's a much better player than Haula. He may end up being right. That being said, I don't know that Zacha moves the needle that much for the Boston Bruins either. There's a reason they brought back Recchi. If they really believed that it was going to solve all their problems by picking up Zacha, then you don't really need to pick up another center, because they already had Coyle there too that could have been third line if Zacha's upside means he could have been second. So we'll see how things go with Zacha, but for Recchi to come out and say he's much better than Haula, some Devil fans not very happy with Recchi, who was of course the assistant coach in New Jersey not that long ago. But he's got his opinions. He's a Hall of Famer, and opinions are great. I say that as somebody who runs a YouTube channel. Opinions can be very divisive. People can get very upset with opinions, but it's nice to see and have that debate. So let me know, do you see Zacha as being a much better player than Haula? If so, why? And if you don't, why not? Sorry, there's another debate for all you fine people. Also, the Winnipeg Jets made an announcement, and I thought it was pretty obvious what they were going to announce, but they used the logo they had from 90 to 96. The Winnipeg Jets logo that I used for the season preview this morning, they used that in a tweet saying at 13:27, so at 1:27 in the afternoon, they had an announcement to make. Well, right away you can see through it. Number 13 was Teemu Selanne. Number 27 was Teppo Numminen. So those players are being inducted into the Winnipeg Jets Hall of Fame. They become the 9th and 10th players inducted into the Jets Hall of Fame. They will put their numbers up, but as far as I understand it, the numbers aren't actually being retired. The other interesting part of this is that they're doing it on November 17th, which is a date that they are playing against the Ducks. So to have this for Selanne while the Ducks are in there, that's kind of fantastic. So nice to see Selanne and Numminen getting some recognition. I don't think I've done a career video on Numminen. I'm pretty sure I've done one on Selanne, but I don't think I've done one on Numminen. That might be an interesting one to get done. Underrated defenseman? Well, Numminen was definitely one of those. All right, and last but not least, yes, this does come to an end, the Ottawa Senators. One interesting thing with the World Juniors is we're seeing that the Sens have some really nice depth. Two guys who've stood out, Ridley Gregg for Canada and Robbie Järventie of Finland. Järventie added a couple, I think he had 2 goals in that game today, played very, very well. And so for Ottawa, the future still looks really, really bright. And so we'll see whether or not Järventie ends up being a steal where he was drafted. I believe that was 2021. And for Ridley Gregg, he looks. I mean, again, it's hard to say a player looks ready for the National Hockey League coming out of a World Juniors because you're playing against other junior age players. But yeah, I mean, Gregg to me looks pretty darn close. If he's not ready, then he's got to get, you would think, some AHL time, or not a lot of it. I don't think he's far off. If he's not ready, he's not that far off. So we'll see. Let me know your thoughts. If you're a Sens fan, are you excited? And if you've been watching the World Juniors, is there a player you've seen that you've said, you know what, the guy is going to be great. I can't wait to see him in the NHL. Of course, Connor Bedard getting a lot of that attention, but I think there's a lot of others as well. I think if you're a Ducks fan, you have to be excited about what Mason Marchment's got done in this tournament and how NHL ready he looks. He looks like he could be fantastic, and the Ducks could use that kind of an attack. And so we'll see if he makes it this fall, about a month's time, right? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.